Hi, everybody. This is my first time speaking to that amount of crowd. I hope I won't faint. So, a short introduction about me. I'm living in Cork, very close to here, the same weather, the same traffic on the right side, based opposed to what I am grow up. And after all the work of the week, I'm generally having time with my family, and if the weather helps, do some garden work and DIY. Today I will talk about who am I and who we are as a company and our journey with Grafana, what we had, what we have now, and what we are planning to do for tomorrow. So a bit about myself, originally from Turkey, with the new name Turkey, living abroad since 2008, in Netherlands for 11 years and then Ireland. I am in the sector for 30 plus years and 6+ years in the Grafana world. I started in long time ago, 2016, I guess, 16, 17, building our own Grafana cloud in our own private cloud in the company that I was working in the Netherlands. We built that separate islands for our customers at that time. And this is why I am known as Mr. Grafana in my companies and SNK due to my full name in the public community. And who is Actian? In a nutshell, we solve the data challenges for our customers and enables our customers to have confidence in their data. We make data easy. The companies generally have all the data volume growing up, and according to a research by IDC, 68% of data available to enterprises are unused. So Actian is a trusted advisor when customers need a smarter approach for their data analytics part. Actian is now a data and analytics division of HCL Software and the fastest growing one in the company. Over 600 employees around the globe and servicing mid-market and enterprise customers with a 95% of customer satisfaction. We have the roots with data back to 1970s with the Ingress database developed in UC Berkeley, and then throughout the time we continued on investment in innovation in that area and all the acquisitions and innovations. Now we have a broad portfolio of data products that solve challenges for more than 10,000 customers around the globe and in every industry we can think of. This is a short history timeline starting back in 1970s with the Ingress database in UC Berkeley, and in 2011 we changed the name to Actian, and now we are a data analytics division of HCL Software with all that broad number of different data solutions for customers. What we have yesterday, in our infrastructure, generally we have the virtual machines, a small portion of it, but mostly, I will say 90% is all in Kubernetes clouds. Kubernetes clusters among all three major cloud providers. We have our applications running, and for observability, we have different tools in the past for synthetic monitoring, for metrics and logs monitoring, and we have different agents for these different tools in our clusters. We have more than 70 clusters around all cloud providers. And you know what I'm talking with that gray boxes in the previous slide, the old tools that we were using. I don't want to mention the names. And what we have now, the infrastructure is more or less the same with a slight difference. We only have one agent running everywhere. And we have LGTM stack with K6 included. We started our journey with a simple POC in a Grafana Cloud free tier with one cluster from each provider and one VM to see how things are working with our infrastructure. And then we were happy. We upgraded our tier to include all clusters and all VMs and the synthetics. And then we got the Grafana Cloud K6 later into the picture. Everything is with a single agent, single tool, easy to maintain, easy to handle, and everybody's happy at the end. Our journey started with April 22 with Grafana Cloud. As I said, we have two stacks for GDPR purposes. One is for the European region clusters, one is non-European region clusters. We have mainly Loki and Mimir for the metrics and logs, and we have synthetics. As I said, we added the Cloud K6 to the picture. And end of 22, we decided to go with Grafana open source. We added Grafana open source to our picture for non-production clusters to have the same level of observability and monitoring, alerting for our non-production environments as well. And then we added Tempo to our open source part. And now the engineering teams and developers are adding distributed tracing to their code in order to get tracing from the development environment, starting from development. And then we added Grafana Faro to the picture for real user monitoring from the browser-based applications, and engineering teams are performing a POC to get that into the picture properly. Everything is, both open source and cloud is integrated with single sign-on, so everybody can log into any stack with their rights based on their team and their responsibilities. Before Grafana Agent, as I said, we have different agents from other vendors, and we have old cluster had a Prometheus server and Prometheus operator for their internal observability per cluster and for the horizontal post scaling. But then we introduced Grafana Agent in static mode at the beginning. Main goal is to use same agent and same configuration everywhere for logs and metrics. So from development up to production, we have the same level of observability. We developed our own custom Helm chart to deploy static mode agent on K6 clusters and Kubernetes clusters, and Ansible playbooks for the VMs. We have a harness CI/CD pipeline to deploy this Grafana Agent static mode to clusters. By nature, it is static by name, so the harness pipeline detects everything running on the cluster, adjusts the Grafana Agent configuration properly, and then deploys the Grafana Agent. But when you add a new application or a new workload, you need to redo that in order to detect it. But in order to do that, you need to adjust your code to detect that application, adjust the configuration, etc. Very tedious work to do. And we add, of course, as I said, we have Faro in the picture as well, but it's not that fast as we expect. And in our journey, after this deployed to everywhere, we start to evaluate our options. The Grafana operator was one of the things, but it was a no-go for us because at that time, the future of that Grafana operator was not that clear. And then we met with Grafana Flow, Grafana Agent Flow mode, and the River. Same goal, everything the same, but with quite a lot of difference. First, we start to use the official Helm charts from Grafana Labs without any modification. We are just using whatever provided by the team. We changed our harness pipeline to a simple Argo CD application set, so everything is deployed without any customization. It's a dynamic flow mode. Everything is running perfect, and we inspired and implemented Grafana Agent modules repository with some minor modifications for our environments, and I want to thank to professional services team for that help during that journey for the implementation of agent modules and the flow mode. At the end, we have everything deployed, we have everything ready, and we deployed agent flow mode and dev and test environments. Now teams are working on verifying the results because of all the naming change, job name change, etc. to verify that our alerting and dashboards are working as expected with Grafana Flow as well. When this is done, we will move to, of course, up to production. And journey continues, of course. We have our cloud integrations on all three major cloud providers. We integrated with Grafana Cloud and Grafana Open Source with the same way. We have converted our alert definitions into a code repository. So JSON.NET for Mimir Loki-based alerts and a Terraform plan for especially the alerts for the cloud integrations. For the Grafana managed alerts, we have our synthetics monitoring for the API endpoints with Grafana and K6 for the browser-based test. There is a minor note here. We evaluated Cloud K6 and K6 open source, and Cloud K6 pricing model was not that suitable for us at that time, because the browser-based testing works only less than a minute. So we choose to go with the K6 open source. We are running our own clusters around the globe and running scripts periodically to test our browser-based applications with doing all the logging into the application, clicking screens, etc., and ending up at the final page. And to verify we get what we wanted. And now we are evaluating black box exporter to do the same as Synthetics does for production environment in Grafana Cloud, to do the same with black box exporter and non-production environments. Probably we will go with black box, of course. And of course, journey never stops. And thanks to the announcements yesterday, it will continue with a high velocity with all the new features added. We are working on converting anything as code, everything about Grafana configuration and Grafana resources to be coded in a repo, so nothing, as much as possible, nothing to be done via UI. So it can be repeatable in all environments and manageable by everybody via updating the repo. By that, I'm talking about cloud integrations, synthetic monitoring configurations, alerting configurations, alerting rules, data source definitions, and dashboards especially. For most of them, we are almost done. Everything is properly coded into repo. Dashboard part is recently started with Grafana.net. We are working on it to convert our current dashboards by some simple scripting to Grafana.net and then deploy it in all environments via source code. We are planning some trainings for our engineering and DevOps teams, so they will be able to understand what is in the code with that anything as code feature, and they will be able to update when necessary via standard pull request flow. For example, they may have a new release with a log record changed, and we are using this in alerting. So they will see that their environment start to alert for that log record. They will be able to create a pull request to update the alerting rule. They will apply it on their environment, and then it will propagate to production with the release as well. So we don't lose observability on any environment during that release of that new product. And we have our agent and Grafana open source already in automation pipelines, but not for the K6 open source. We need to work on that. We need to handle upgrading Grafana open source and K6 open source better They are updating fast, and we are very slow in upgrading our environments to the latest versions. We are working on on-call manager on our non-production environment, so engineering teams will be able to receive alerts for non-production environments, the event tests especially, earlier, and they will fix problem there before releasing their codes to production. With that, on-call manager and incident response together, we are planning to replace our on-call solution that we are using today with on-call and incident response. We are planning to use Cloud K6 for performance, stress, and reliability testing, and some quality assurance testing, working on that with the QA team as well. Of course, during that journey, we have our lessons learned on major areas as I listed here. First of all, the Grafana agent. We started with static mode, but YAML is hard to read after a while. In a day or three, you may forget why you coded that regular expression there with all parentheses, question marks, stars, etc. And River helped a lot on that part, more human readable, more understandable, and the flow makes you easily understand the way of its working. With the flow, we had some issues, like as I said, we implemented Grafana agent modules repo provided by Grafana Labs, but the modules was used via Git, reading from a Git repository, and that hit our Git provider. We had some issues and with number of calls from all clusters to Git provider, and they start to throttle our requests for everything, and then we changed this with a small script, all the modules.git to modules.file to read it from a config map in the clusters. But overall, agent flow mode is awesome. We had our issues with log-based alerting. We are directly using log records and logql in the alerts, but it's better to convert most of them into recording rules, so we convert them into metrics and alert based on those metrics. It will be cheaper for us and better for the Loki side as well, for all environments. With the open source part, we had our share of issues with sizing, OEM kills, hitting the limits for number of metrics and number of logs. It's a continuous process to increase our limits, our sizing. But also we are preparing some K6 stress tests on our Mimir and Loki in the open source side to properly size our environment for our clusters and VMs. For K6, as I said, we are very slow in updating the versions. We are trying to implement the automation on K6 sites as soon as possible. So we will keep up to date with the K6 site. Yeah, the added values, of course, the first major thing is cost. We have a dramatic cost reduction by moving to Grafana Cloud from other 3 vendors. But the cost story continues with adaptive metrics. We are adapting adaptive metrics in our environment. So removing unused metrics labels and reducing by aggregation, as we all get the talks about them yesterday and today. Our team is analyzing the results of adaptive metrics, and we will implement the rules very soon. I can show you a sample output from our environment. We have almost 22 pages like that. But this page will be enough to reduce most of the cost. We are working with the team to analyze whether we may need these metrics in the near future. Do we have any plans to use them in a dashboard or alert? If not, aggregate and reduce. Or even maybe we will think of removing them at the source from Grafana agent, not to get into environment. The next major added value is single pane of glass, one tool for anything and everything about observability. We don't need to switch between consoles in order to analyze a crisis or an incident. We have one single tool. We are preparing our own dashboards from every data source. Another one is observability from development. We have the ability with Grafana to implement the same level of observability in every environment. In the past, it wasn't possible because of the cost issues. Now we can implement the same level on development, tests, and stage and production without any change, the same code, the same agent, the same level of observability dashboards. So we can see problems earlier in development environment and fix it before going to production with a release. And also, this enables a shared responsibility with the development teams, so they can help, they can own the same responsibility as we are as cloud operations team. They can update the configurations, dashboards, based on their releases and development environment, and it can propagate up to production with the release. And that's all for the journey that we had in Actian, and thanks you for listening.